After almost 60 years of strong bipartisan support, Congress has cut all federal funding for public media, stripping away a critical pillar of support for local stations like ours. At Vermont Public, we'll lose at least $2 million this year. If all our sustaining members increase their gift by $7 per month, we'll close that gap for good. Increase your gift today and help close the gap at vermontpublic.org/update.
From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Thursday, September 25th, and here are today's headlines. Montpelier's retail business community is backing a Scott administration plan to require state employees to come to their offices more often. More workers have had remote flexibility in recent years due to the COVID-19 pandemic and historic flooding, and that's been hard on many businesses in the capital city. But the Scott administration is ordering most state employees to return to the office at least 3 days a week starting December 1st. Katie Trouts directs Montpelier Alive. The group promotes the city's businesses.
It really has made an impact to have state workers working from home. There's been less foot traffic on a daily basis.
Trout says Scott's plan is key to Montpelier's economic revival, but the Vermont State Employees Union opposes the plan and is considering legal action to block it. Meanwhile, the state's overall supply of necessary workers is dwindling, according to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. The group says many communities across the state are experiencing an essential employee shortage. Ted Brady is the group's executive director, and he says an unprecedented number of people are retiring. At the same time, demand for public services is rising. And Brady says that's created a large number of vacancies in a wide range of local government positions.
And so you have a generation that's aging out of the workforce, from highway crews to police officers to government finance professionals to town and city administrators and managers. We're just losing that generation to retirements.
Brady says his organization has a new online job search tool, and you can find it at vermonttowncareers.org. Vermont State Police have named the officer involved in an hours-long standoff and shooting incident in Burlington. Police said in a press release Tuesday afternoon, Officer Brady McGee fired his duty weapon during the standoff at a Burlington housing complex this past Sunday. McGee began his career with Burlington Police in June of 2018. He's currently on paid administrative leave. State Police also identified the person who was shot after police say they tried to safely resolve the situation. He is 32-year-old Aaron Looks of Burlington. Looks was taken to the University of Vermont Medical Center for treatment. The Attorney General's office and a county prosecutor will also review the shooting after state police complete their investigation. And bus drivers and monitors serving Windham Southeast Supervisory Union schools have voted unanimously to ratify a new 5-year contract with their employer, Travel Cuz. Teamsters Local 597 represents the drivers and monitors. The union said this new contract includes a more than 20% wage increase, strengthened retirement and health care benefits, and picket line protection. The vote to ratify a new contract comes after months of negotiations, a staff lockout, and the threat of a strike. Coming up, mosquitoes often carry potentially deadly diseases, so testing for them is a public health necessity. We'll hear how one upstate New York county that lacked the means of detecting viruses solved the problem and how they gathered the bugs for testing. That's after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from SRH Law, believing that values and mission still matter. When you need good counsel for your values-based work, whether it's securing our energy future, building affordable and sustainable communities, or advancing a values-led economy, they're here to help you make a difference. SRHLaw.com. Making a difference is our practice.
Every year, from June to mid-October, Vermont tracks mosquitoes to monitor for the presence of potentially deadly diseases. The state tests these bugs to see if they're carrying West Nile virus, Eastern equine encephalitis, and for the first time this year, Jamestown Canyon virus. But not every community in the Northeast has the resources to do this sort of surveillance. Public health officials in upstate New York's St. Lawrence County, for example, had no way of doing it until now. North Country Public Radio's Catherine Wheeler reports.
Chase Bond is channeling Ghostbusters. She has a jerry-rigged vacuum in one hand, connected by a thin black cord to her backpack.
have made that joke many times.
But instead of sucking up ghosts in the city, Bond is in Brazier State Forest, crunching through layers of fallen twigs and dried pine needles. She's hunting down something even scarier to most of us: bloodthirsty mosquitoes. Bond walks around traps set up in the woods, spaced out every 10 feet. They're basically black, collapsible laundry baskets and small wooden boxes. She sneaks up behind one, sticks in her vacuum, and snatches up the bugs inside.
This is a really good day. You guys are in for a treat.
After she clears each of them out, Bond swiftly screws on the lid. The mosquitoes get fresh air through the fine mesh bottom.
You can actually hear them buzzing around in there if you listen really closely.
Bond is an intern on a team of scientists in St. Lawrence County that's capturing mosquitoes. It's part of a new public health effort to understand which mosquitoes live here and what diseases they carry. In 2024, 6 horses in St. Lawrence County were infected with eastern equine encephalitis. It was the most of any county in New York State last year. All of the horses died.
This happened in a fairly concentrated time frame.
That's St. Lawrence County Public Health Director Erin Strife. She says it's normal to have a couple of cases each year, but usually they're spread out over weeks or months.
So the thought was, if it's a lot in a short amount of time, maybe there's really high viral activity in the mosquitoes, which would then potentially be transmitted to humans through mosquito bites. And we just weren't sure exactly what the risk to human health was.
Strife says they initially considered spraying insecticides over large areas to kill as many mosquitoes as possible. But that could affect all sorts of insects, and Strife says officials didn't know where to start. There wasn't a specific area where they knew for certain the infected mosquitoes were coming from.
And so we decided that we needed to take a more studied approach and determine exactly where the higher risk mosquito pools might be.
Some other counties in New York have been surveying mosquito populations for decades. St. Lawrence County hasn't had the money or staff to do it before. But thanks to funding from New York State, the county's public health department started this summer. Public health teamed up with scientists from SUNY Potsdam, Clarkson University, and SUNY ESF. The group put out traps at 3 locations in the county: Brazier State Forest, Upper and Lower Lakes Wildlife Management Area near Canton, and the Clarkson Woods in Potsdam. So far, they found 26 species of mosquitoes. Clarkson University biologist Tom Langen says it's pretty surprising.
The data looks pretty different among the 3 sites in terms of what mosquitoes are there, what are the most abundant species.
Langen says knowing where certain species live could help us identify potential hotspots when something like Triple E or West Nile pops up. Once the living mosquitoes get back to the lab, they're flash frozen. After about 20 minutes in the freezer, SUNY Potsdam student Chase Bond dumps their stiff bodies onto a white sheet of paper. Bond says she and her fellow interns sort through the thousands of mosquitoes they catch. They spent hours staring through microscopes looking for the tiny differences between species.
You're basically looking at these little microscopic hairs that are like behind a microscopic hole on a microscopic insect.
She says they've had to learn to identify species quickly because any virus that could be in the mosquitoes degrades the longer they sit at room temp. Bond moves her tweezers between the mosquitoes with precision, separating them into piles. She taps a counter to keep track. Bond is only after the female mosquitoes. Those are the ones that drink blood.
You can tell the males from the females because they have really fluffy antennae. So you can see right there, it has really fluffy antennae. So that is a male. So I'm going to put over here and count it.
Then she starts dividing them into species.
This could possibly be a culex, so I'm going to put him over there.
Once all the mosquitoes are sorted, they go back into the freezer until they're shipped to the New York State Department of Health's lab in Albany for disease testing. The team's work has already proven fruitful. Earlier this summer, a mosquito sample collected from Upper and Lower Lakes tested positive for West Nile virus. But that's the only detection of a mosquito-borne illness so far this year. SUNY Potsdam biologist Rob Snyder says this work is about establishing a baseline of what kind of mosquitoes live in St. Lawrence County. He says it will help public health determine what diseases could be here now or in the future.
We're just interested in the diversity of mosquitoes, like how many, what's the seasonality, the diversity of the mosquitoes here, and how are they going to change 10, 20 years from now.
A lot of that change could be driven by a warming climate. Warmer and wetter weather will be hospitable to more and new kinds of mosquitoes, potentially bringing new diseases. Mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animal, killing hundreds of thousands of people every year, according to the Centers for Disease Control. St. Lawrence County Public Health Director Aaron Strife says surveillance helps us know what risks lie ahead.
It's just a little bug and they seem so innocuous, but if you look at all of the things that they've transmitted to humans, from malaria and just everything, I think we need better solutions.
Strife says there are things we can do now to protect ourselves from mosquito-borne illnesses. She says the EEE vaccination for horses is effective. And while that doesn't exist for humans, Strife says people can try to avoid mosquito bites as best they can. You can wear bug spray, long-sleeve shirts and pants, and stay inside during dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Catherine Wheeler, North Country Public Radio in Brazier.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Bob Kinzel, Mary Angish, and Jen Jarecki. Today's episode was edited by Stephanie Colombini, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wortley. Talk to you tomorrow.